How's it going, guys? Joe here. Today we're going to be doing some more of that Fitbit development stuff with sensor data. So let's just get to it. So it is now the next day. The iteration 2 happens to be on the next day because I noticed some glitches and I thought it would be right for me to address those glitches. So yeah, and before we get started, I'm actually I made some changes like outside of the video because I looked at it one last time last night and I noticed a couple mistakes that would have happened and I decided to address them. So I'm going to show you what those are real quickly. Some of them you might have been screaming at me about, but essentially what happened was and I didn't fix the scrolling. I'm just using Brave instead of Chrome, just because now the problem's gone. I'll have to look into what the actual problem is, but essentially, let's see, I have it all written down on my whiteboard over there. So the format, the whole point of the format was still showing the heart rate, but then the average heart rate is like the last parameter. So now it's the time followed by heart rate followed by total movement x y z combined followed by the average heart rate. Right, that's what I would like. So I want it to be 0 if it's not getting an average, and then when it happens to be getting an average, then I want it to be whatever that average is, the way I'm collecting it. And I still don't know if that works or not. There were some glitches that essentially prevented data collection altogether, so of course, even with no debugging, programs aren't just going to work like that. Also today I don't want to spend too much time on it because I got quite a lot to do yet tonight, so I want to try to keep this quick as well. We're pretty much just going to be fixing these minor bugs. There was something else I forgot to implement yesterday. I was thinking of implementing that if we do end up getting more time. But yeah, so essentially the other bug besides the formatting is there was a variable that we had in add data. This what was it? There was a variable that temp HR. I think that used to be inside of the add data. That's a local variable that probably wouldn't have been accessible within this function. So where I declare temp HR, I think in here, I moved it to here because that's where it should be now. So that's the other main change I made off camera. So I should really check to make sure that I have that latest version on here like backed up so that I can eventually put it on GitHub. Let me think here. So add data. Looks like this isn't the latest version, so I'm going to put this version in my notes, and then I'll store commits for all the different copies of the program that I have so you can access either one of them when I link to it. I'll show you where it'll probably be, but it's not there yet. I was going to actually post it before I started making this video, but I forgot to. So essentially, if you go to my GitHub at github.com/zinzy23, then under Lucid Dreaming, I'll probably have a separate folder for essentially like programs I've written. Other programs should eventually go there too, but especially this one, all the different commits, all the folders here where programs are, you'll be able to find it within here. I'll try to be descriptive with the title and stuff. But yeah, so those are essentially some changes I made to it. So what kind of glitches do we actually have? Well, first of all, no data collection ended up happening because I made a mistake regarding movement. It didn't track any movement. And I think I have a pretty good idea of what happened. I never actually checked the program, but I think I know what happened. And you were probably all screaming at me about this, but we're going to fix that today. Also, yeah, so because the positions weren't recorded, none of the average heart rates were recorded either, because it's all based on the total position being greater than or equal to 100. And then the second drifts a lot more than normal. The second, where it shows the time, I actually took a video of it before I closed it out. So this is what happened last night essentially. So as you can see, the second is drifting over time. It went from 00 to like 09 or whatever. It's constantly changing over time, so that's something we gotta correct. And it only recorded up to 230 entries too, so it didn't go beyond that. So essentially our stat canvases did not work either. So and then if I get those bugs, those were essentially the main bugs, but if I get time, I would also like to make it so that it only averages if there's been like zero movement and stuff. If there's any movement in between, it resets. But only within the first 5 minutes. If there's less than 100 motion, it's still going to keep taking averages. But if it's greater than 100, then it's going to actually calculate the average and essentially reset the data collection regarding new averages. So it'll be 0 where there's no averages being figured out, and then whatever the average is when there is being average figured out. Wait, so did I see, now this scrolling's a lot better than it used to be. I seriously would have considered copying and pasting this in Atom. Like, that would have been far less annoying than dealing with the scrolling to me. That scrolling last night was super annoying, I thought. So the heart rate that actually goes into the heart rates array, when does a heart rate get in there? Oh, right, so that's never, it's always gonna be a whole number. But when we're calculating the average, is that always going to be the case? Like, yeah, the other thing I just thought of literally just now is, what if the average had the decimal after it? So, because it's an average. So I think what I might end up doing is taking the floor. Oh shoot, I haven't been showing the screen, I'm sorry. So I was essentially looking at the program, and I was just trying to figure out where the data collection was happening. I determined that it's always going to collect whole numbers, but the average it calculates could end up being a decimal when it figures that out. So wait, so the total heart rate, this whole number, I'm gonna want to round the whole number down. This isn't really gonna do that, I don't believe. So I may actually want to do sum equals the floor of the sum divided by that. I don't really like the way I wrote that, but that may be what I have to do. So yeah, I don't want any decimal places, so I'm not going to use ceiling, I don't think. I'm just going to start with floor. We're still in the data collection phase. We're going to see if there is a correlation based on a much easier view with the whole average thing. So yeah, so I'm going to show you those bugs again. So essentially, So essentially, the time drifts over time. It's not totally the motion, as you can see, and thus it's not getting averages anywhere either. So that's essentially what's wrong. So the positions aren't recorded because I think what happened is, you were probably screaming at me about this, total X, total Y, total Z are no longer defined. Wait, so I think, what did I do exactly? Total X plus equals move X. So what I actually want to do is total plus equals move X, move Y, move Z, I think. Because those are the numbers it'll collect. And then total, wait, so when does total become 0? It will eventually, right? Total had better eventually become 0. So when do I want total to be? Every 30 seconds, right? So let's see, where, yeah, so right here, what did I used to do? Total, what did I used to do? Like, is there a place where total eventually resets? Because once I start adding a data point, that's what I want to have happen. I don't see anything about the total becoming 0. So, on another thing, I feel like I was using I in a for loop that was already happening that could potentially get reset as well. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not really going to worry about whether that becomes an issue. It's used right here, then it doesn't matter because this is all separate. And I'm not going to worry about like resetting I or anything like that. I have a feeling that since total doesn't actually, oh, wait, so clear totals, that's where it used to happen. I'm actually gonna get rid of this because we're just having one total now. And don't worry, I got the changes stored in a separate file, so total equals 0 now. So that's where it's gonna reset. But yeah, essentially what was wrong is here. So we still have the problem. You're probably screaming at me. So total should be move X, move Y, and move Z. That's what total should be going up by. Now that should allow us to get heart rate averages too, finally, since the total was always 0. So positions not recorded. I think the issue should be fixed now. We'll probably do some testing. The second drifts a lot over time. The second drifts. It could have to do with the formula, but it could also have to do with, it wouldn't have to do with any starting position, I don't think. Honestly, I don't really know. Honestly, it was almost fine how it was. See, 500 really ruined it. Wait, so second check, or check second. Um, the interval does clear. Hopefully it didn't. I don't think it created multiple intervals because there weren't any duplicates as far as I remember. So I think what I'm gonna do is, yeah, as I did a calculation to see how many points it recorded, and I did the math. I was like, 1 hour is equivalent to 120, and double that you get 240. It's not quite double, so it's like 10 minutes less, I think it was. So it equates to like, or 5 minutes less. That equates to like 230, which is ironically how big a single text area is. So I imagine that glitch has to do with that. But as far as this goes, I'm just gonna leave it at 1,000. I honestly don't care. It's only gonna drift 1 second if it drifts at all. And that's gonna be accurate enough for me anyway. So, and I don't know what's going on with the formula exactly, but it works most of the time. I don't know why. When did this become a plus? Did it become a plus in a past video? I don't recall. That's very strange either way. So I'm setting that back because it was working better than it did last night. It pretty much 0 and 30 throughout the entire night. Or if I'm unlucky, it would be 1 and 31, but that's about as much as it would drift throughout the entire night. So I really don't care. I'm just leaving it like that. So positions should get recorded, which means averages should happen now. The second drifts over time. I put it back to where it was before. It only goes up to 230. So that could mean that data point could be having an issue. Data point equals 0, or J, actually I was thinking. Is there like, so update data? Well, it's got, so do we have all the log for everything? Scroll 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think so. By the way, that text overlaying where it did multiple layers of text on top, that doesn't happen when it's doing initial data collection, so that's kind of interesting. So as far as it only going up to 230, I wonder what happened. Data point does increment. It wouldn't have somehow done this, would it? Kind of tempted to test it in the simulator. Kind of tempted to test it in the simulator just to see how many it does exactly. So we got the fancy shortcut that can comment stuff out. I want to get rid of that if statement and indent that back, and then so check second essentially. So let's start off the simulator and see if it still only goes to 230 here. I guess I'll have it log whatever data point happens to be at the moment. I kind of want to do it somewhere. Let's just do it at the beginning here. I don't want it to somehow interfere with, like, if pressing enter right here suddenly fixes it, well then I get a false sense of security or whatever you call that, where it looks like it works but it really doesn't. So console log data point. So the simulator works. I said it works. It doesn't work. Perfect. So sometimes even with technology, reverse psychology works. It's very strange. So check second. Why aren't we getting this? It's not logging anything. Second check. All right, so yeah, it doesn't start until 2.5 hours later, so I may as well run this outside the function. Get rid of that. We got the original check second function, so I think I'm gonna go like that. Sometimes it has an error installing the app and then I just run it again and then it works. That might happen now. Yeah, that was a connection problem. So it did 0. And of course it resets the interval right here. So let's take that part out. So I just want to see how high this goes. So that goes beyond 230. So rather than logging it, let's add the number. What happened here? Wrong quotes. Plus, wait, did it? I think that's as much as it logs. Plus, data points. I think that's what we want. Oh, the connection could have dropped out too. How's the connection for you guys? Right now it looks fine. Oops. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why I would have only... Now this error, we haven't actually seen that for a while, so I don't know where that error came from exactly. Wish there was like an auto scrolling feature I could do. Yeah, for some reason it only logged up to 230. I don't know why. Could have had to do with the whole data or the movement thing. Maybe something just errored out by the time it got that far. But see, J just determines where things happen. or average heart rate has some sort of variable that couldn't be accessed. And in that case, could this be a big deal at all? Like the fact that the index goes up at the end, when right here it's returning, could that be a problem? So right there, HR index becomes 0. The fact that it's happening right there could be a little bit of a problem. The index may not be going up. If that's the case, then I would do it up here, but actually we could just do it right below this. Then that won't affect what this does. So let's put it here once. Not sure if that would contribute to the problem, but I can see how the index wouldn't go up if we get to this return here. The return will skip the rest of the code. That's probably a problem that would have happened, so we could have accidentally solved an entirely different problem. Now, so this error is not going to happen unless we get past 1200 or something. Why don't we look it up just to see what Fitbit SDK. Importing the same files repeatedly. Display, document, sleep, vibration. I don't think we are. Honestly, it doesn't seem like the issue happens until it gets to like 1200. No, it's happening right away. See, widgets common.gui. I don't know where that is. But it doesn't seem to impede the functionality, honestly. If it does, then we'll have to figure out what it is, but I'm gonna assume that the problem no longer exists because it went past 230, right? So that number we're gonna have to remember to take off. I wish I knew a way to like create random amounts of motion just to see if the whole average thing works out, but I'll just collect data tonight, see what happens. But for now, I suggest we take that out. So total will go to 0 now that we're just using that. The other problem would be wouldn't reset within constraints. Yeah, so if it's a motion of over 100, then all of a sudden there's less than 100 within 5 minutes. I kind of want the average to reset. So if the total is greater than or equal to 100, then how do I check the total within 5 minutes? So the average heart rate, what triggers that again? Oh, so every time we add data. So if we're adding data and it's greater than 0 within 5 minutes of resetting. So the average heart rate triggers every time. So I think we may want to consider doing this within this function. I think that should work okay. So if the total is greater than or equal to 100, well, I'm kind of tempted to do a separate if statement for it being 0. But if it's 0, I do want the 0 to happen before that, so let's just start writing, see what happens. Sometimes I don't know how to write stuff, so I start writing and then all of a sudden it conceptualizes. So if total is greater than 0, then, but it has to be within 5 minutes. So data point that doesn't have to reset. So data point does not reset here, but I want the whole heart rate. Oh, so how do I know that it's within 5 minutes? Based on the HR index, probably. Right here it'll reset back to 0, but yeah, so if it's greater than 0 and HR index 5 minutes, HR index will be greater than 10, or total is greater than 0 and HR index is 0 through 9 will be the first 10, so less than 10. Then we need to reset as well, in the same way we normally do. Right? Kind of tempted to combine all this. So total is greater than 0 and the HR index is less than 10, or the total is greater than or equal to 100. I think we might be able to combine that all in one statement. Now, the order of operations, I think it should work out because of something called short circuiting. So I actually learned that just the other day. My understanding is if none of these are true, then it just skips the entire rest of the statement. We don't even need to check this. Now, but actually, I kind of want to check the total is greater than or equal to 100 first, because, well, the index resets regardless, right? The index resets. Yeah, the index resets in the same way regardless of what happens. I'm going to put it around parentheses just so I know for a fact it's happening in the way I want. But I think it'll work just fine without. So oh yeah, the total amount of movement. I think this is what I want. So total is greater than 0, and that doesn't matter if it's greater than 100. It still resets in exactly the same way it would. Oh, but I feel like during one of them I want to get the average, and then one of them I don't. That's tricky. I feel like in this one, do I want to get the average if this scenario is true? Or do I want to like just reset? That is tricky. I think I'm gonna get the average. Right now we're just doing data collection, so it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna get the average. I think that's everything. So I fixed the formatting, the temp HR. I explained at the beginning of this video. I explained how the positions aren't recorded. We did fix that, I think. Honestly, oh, of course we gotta remember to change this back and then load the program. Let's do 1 second with the actual Fitbit, which I've got over here. So I'm gonna want to load this with Fitbit Studio or with the developer bridge. Then sometimes it actually connects almost instantaneously, other times not really. It's kind of shocking. Yeah, this was pretty quick. So I just want to see what happens with the motion. Oh, and of course, average HR is not defined, line 172. Average HR. That can't possibly be actually running in 172, can it? It might need to be honestly, it could become a global variable. And it would start out as 0. Kind of glad I checked that. And that could be the reason why it wouldn't go past 230 as well. Who knows? It was only collecting one data point, which didn't seem right. Connection issue. Honestly, I would probably just consider creating a hotspot and then doing it all locally within there, because that would solve the whole problem. Total movement is being recorded, and then for some reason, instead of giving me the average, it's just saying not a number. NaN, not a number. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but right at the end it says not a number. So that last number, average heart rate. So when it's calculating average, then what are we getting exactly? Yeah, not a number. So whenever there's motion, that's when it's console logging, but if there isn't any motion, then it won't log at all. Huh. So get average HR. What does temp HR do? Like, going through the pathway of what's going on, does temp HR work? So that's... Why are we getting like a single value? Oh. Oh, so it's collecting heart rate in between motion. So there's pretty much no motion right here. And it collects heart rate for all of them. So is that actually an array that it's logging? Is sort array returning an actual array? So it's listing off values. Is that a function? I cannot remember. Oops. I forgot a parenthesis there. Type of JavaScript C type of variable. And honestly, I think the type of is what it is. However, where did I put it? No capital, so no camel case. Interesting. It highlighted red, so I need to see if it's actually an array or if it's somehow a string of comma separated. It says object. I mean, it is in the form of an array here, so it must be working. Oh yeah, before when it was listing off numbers, was that... When it was listing off numbers, was that sorted from largest to smallest? Must have been. So like zero motion, and then all of a sudden, that's not sorted. That ain't... Oh, is that from least to greatest and not the other way around? Um, I wish I could have it only do it like, yeah, it's looks like it's sorting from least to greatest. That doesn't seem right. It should be doing like less than that. Well, it should be doing it the other way around. So, am I able to go like I should probably copy and paste that first before I go and do something crazy like this. So, um, J. I'm just switching the J's and I's around. Just to see if that makes it so it's always from. It seems to always be from least to greatest, but I want it to be from greatest to least. Does that actually work? Just trying to lower it. Now what's happening? Well, it is going from greatest to least now. That's a good sign. Boy, imagine that. I seriously would have started using this program not knowing that it was sorting wrong. Then I would have gotten undesirable results. So there's a problem I prevented. That's cool. So now it is going from greatest to least. That's fantastic. To be honest with you, I should probably learn what this sorting algorithm actually is because I'm not really sure how it works exactly. It could be like that most redundant form where it chucks every other spot next to it. Forget exactly what the term would be, but yeah, that's essentially the idea. But here, yeah, of course, I'm getting not a number. We still gotta fix that. We are troubleshooting a problem right now, by the way. So, let's see where. So we know temp HR. I'm assuming that works. Then total HR, that could totally be a decimal place. Temp HR. Hang on. Oh, that's just a number. And we actually want to do the entire number, I think. Because it divided by 2 could make it an odd number. That would certainly be a problem. So let's take a look at that. Total HR. Not a number. 45. What? So why is it a number sometimes and not other times? It might have to do with the fact that it's an array. that's what the problem is. So it's supposed to be the length of the array, not the. You can't just divide an array by 2. So you're probably screaming at me about that too, most likely. So it's supposed to be the array's length. And this parenthesis should be like this anyway, because I do want to take the entire number. The math can totally be done with decimals, but then from there I round up, right? Yeah, so it's only working when the length is 1. Weird if that would work at all. Math ceiling function is a little bit strange in that sense, but yeah, so it's the length, and I think that's how you do it. No, I think you don't need the parentheses. I think you can get away without the parentheses. Yeah, I believe this is like an actual parameter of the object. I don't even know if that's what I meant to say, but so 1, if I stay still, it should be able to go up to like, yes, it stays still. We're 2 decimal places still. Okay, so 5, is that even right? Oh, divided by 2, sure. That looks about right. So that may have been what the problem was this entire time. So we just need the length. We're finally getting averages. Yep, we're finally getting averages. Yeah, we solved the problem. It's just my own ignorance. But, you know, with experience, this is going to happen all the time. It's not about avoiding mistakes as much as it is your ability to find them and correct them. And the more you do that, the more you'll just avoid mistakes. Like, don't try to avoid mistakes exactly. Just get something working, figure out what the mistake is, and deal with it. So we got this problem solved. So essentially, we were trying to get the average of the array itself. Oh yeah, that's the total HR, right? So we're still getting a sum for all of them. So yeah, so it's getting like half of the array. So if the length is 10, this will probably do 5. And because it'll be the 5 highest numbers, it'll right here, if I was doing something right now trying to get an average like this, it would probably be the lowest numbers. Oh nice, 15. It would probably be trying to get the lowest numbers, wouldn't it? But when I don't know, yeah, right now I'd be trying to get the lowest numbers. When I'm sleeping, since I'm inactive, I'm trying to get the highest numbers. I just think that's a little ironic. But I think it might be working otherwise. Yeah, so we're getting an average of like, it's 0 when it's not getting the average. For a while it stayed at 0. I think it's working fine. So before I screw up, let's bring the program back to how it originally was. So check second, it's fine how it is now. Syntax highlighting could be having a little glitch right there. But that really doesn't matter. It makes things pretty obvious. So check second. I want to start searching from up here. So delay start is the reason why check second wasn't working right away. So start delay, that's 2.5 hours. Based on the time, it was like 3:30. That's like, yeah, about 2.5 hours. Yeah, so that should work fine. And check second runs just like how it used to. It'll always be within 1 second, I think. So honestly, I'm not going to try to figure out how to get it exact. Even this sleep chart could be off a little bit. If it's within 1 second though, like, that's good enough for me. Most of the time I think the second will line up with 0 and 30 though. But if it doesn't, it'll only drift by 1 second and never more. So what I did yesterday somehow made that happen, but I don't think that'll happen today. And before I'm like a really destructive moron, I better get rid of this. So we could get rid of this too. Yeah, I suppose now I'll worry about that display time thing later on. I do kind of want to wrap this up. Like I said, when I start adding stuff like the alarm, then I'll be using stuff like this. I'll be taking code from here to make that work. Because I have a feature that can make it so that it can ring once, wait a couple seconds, ring again. Like, it can be a delayed alarm. So like it could be like a normal alarm but with a interval in between, if that makes sense. It's almost like taking the alarm apart and then increasing the interval. So it's like mechanically modifying the alarm. That's essentially what that is. So it's kind of special in that sense. So I'll be using code like that. That's the whole point. So we got, man, I actually fixed more problems than I was originally planning to. So I think we got something that's a little bit more functional. Ooh, looks like the live stream is almost an hour long. Let's keep it that way, under an hour. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, it should work the way it is meant to. There are probably variables that I'm not going to use anymore. Yeah, like dump. I know for a fact that's not used anymore. But I'm not going to worry about like what is and isn't used. Mainly because some of it may end up getting used again. Like that, the timer, that certainly will get used again. At first I was thinking of doing that display thing with the update time, and have it only update the time when the display is on. But then again, it's doing it for the oh, and another thing we gotta remember for the, oh yeah, this will be 30 seconds. Yeah, I unconsciously changed it back. So, oh no. We're still under an hour. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this. I better deploy the app, so I'm actually using that latest one. So I will be putting everything on GitHub. It'll be on that page like I described. Maybe I'll put a link in the description if I remember. But otherwise, do I have any console logs? Keep it under an hour. No, okay. I believe that's going to be it. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it. So thanks for watching and have a good one. Barely under an hour. Peace.